Hello, Jack. I'm Jacob Danilick, as you may know, with Tieline. Thank you for joining us today. Jack, you're with Stanford University's radio broadcast team.
We are KZSU, Stanford University Radio. I'm the assistant chief engineer, and we use Tieline products in all of our road sports broadcasting. KZSU broadcasts about 200 games per year.
Oh, wow.
We're in the Pac-12. We broadcast football, basketball, baseball. In fact, there's a baseball game literally going right now using Tieline products as we speak. Women's volleyball.
Wow.
And because Stanford has so many sports, we try to broadcast as many of them as we can. Really high quality team sports, even soccer as well.
Wow, okay, so you use a lot of Tieline, it sounds like. You got a lot of sports broadcasts going on. What kind of Tieline equipment are you using to make these remotes happen?
Right now we're using two ViAs. The ViAs are incredible, rock solid, super easy and high quality pieces of equipment that we use for sports broadcasting. We take them on the road, and with the new Gateway product, we can actually stream two different broadcasts at the same time in the event there's some sort of scheduling conflict. So if there was a football game and a volleyball game going on at the same time, and both of them happen to be on the road, two ViAs. That's our solution.
Excellent, and it's all over IP, correct?
Yes.
Whether it's cellular, Wi-Fi. I think you were telling me beforehand, I think you were telling me a little bit about a story about a hard access Wi-Fi connection.
I have so many stories because sports stadiums across the country and across multiple different schools have very different facilities.
Yeah.
So I could go to a really world-class stadium one day, like say Notre Dame Stadium, which is really, really elite and world-class. And then they will have a booth for visiting student radio with an IP connection. I jack it in, I jack in the ViA, and then I have a companion console, the Allen and Heath product, the Z8, a little simple 4-channel mixer, but it's also rock solid, really, really a great mixer, and huge Allen Heath fan as well. But the Allen and Heath will feed my broadcasters. I have two broadcasters. I create a stereo image of their broadcast. So announcer 1 and announcer 2 don't sound like they're talking on top of each other. Announcer 1 sounds like he's slightly to the right. Announcer 2 sounds slightly to the left. And I attach a Rode stereo video microphone that feeds the crowd sound from the stadium. And that Notre Dame crowd could have a roar on one side of the stadium from their fan zone, and then a sound system that plays hype music on the other side, and so you will actually feel the stereo image of the crowd stadium. All of that is fed through the Allen Heath mixer, and then I send that to the Tieline, which gives me a high quality stream back to my studio where I can broadcast it on the airwaves on 90.1 FM KZSU Stanford throughout the Bay Area. And we're an FM radio station, so that stereo image is just such a delight to be broadcast on the air. And you can really hear the quality of that broadcast and of the student broadcasters being so passionate and fired up about the sports. And I'm there with them producing the game, and it's such a treat. But like I said earlier, every stadium has different levels of quality. So we traveled to a game at Vanderbilt where we were on a concrete ledge that hadn't been cleaned in months.
Yeah.
It's dirty, dusty, filthy, and they only let us in with 30 minutes before kickoff. We're panicking. How do we get connected? Their wired IP connection wasn't working. So I took my cell phone and made a Wi-Fi hotspot, and that ViA connected via Wi-Fi to my little Wi-Fi hotspot, and I was able to get the game on the air with seconds to go before kickoff.
Incredible. But back to the stereo mix, because it's kind of unique that you guys are taking the stereo approach, because as you might know, most stations across the country, whether it's FM or AM, even though FM is broadcasted traditionally in stereo, remotes though are still done in mono.
Yes.
So you really care about that audio file and that audio feed back to the studio, and so that's kind of like why you got into the Tieline and the ViA and all of that stuff, because of that stereo capability.
Absolutely. And it's not just our FM signal that is in stereo. We're also feeding a stereo stream online via KZSU's web servers, so that this feed gets picked up by Stanford alumni all over the world who listen to games because they don't get ESPN in Singapore, for instance. One of our most loyal, dedicated listeners to KZSU sports broadcasting is a former Stanford alum who has a prominent position in a university in Singapore. And he doesn't get ESPN out there in Singapore.
This is the only way his team.
This is the only way he can hear a Stanford football broadcast by by students to an alum. And so there's that family quality to it that is a big motivator and why we want to maintain a high standard of sound to our listener base. And sometimes when I do a big football game like Stanford versus Cal, which is our big Bay Area rivalry, or Stanford versus USC, or Stanford versus Notre Dame, these are like very, very long-running historic programs. And Stanford alumni are very different than most alumni. They tend to be from all over the world, all over the country, and then they tend to go off into many other parts of the world or the country. I've got Stanford alums who are scientists in Uzbekistan, or even in the Arctic regions. Sometimes they will tune in via the internet to KZSU Sports. And on top of that, there are various other sports that Stanford alumni are very passionate about. So I will get families of Stanford women's volleyball players who are just so thrilled to hear any coverage of their daughter playing women's volleyball at this elite level, and maybe she might end up going to play in the Olympics. So it's a very so to be able to provide the quality of sound to the quality of wonderful alumni we have at Stanford, that's sort of the goal and the mission of student radio.
Well, yeah, so it sounds like quality is very important to you, and that's one of the reasons you went with Tieline. But let's shift away from the remote side for just a second, and let's talk about your gateway at the studio real quick. The gateway out there, are you using like the analog or the AES-3, or have you decided to take the AOIP approach with the gateway?
Well, right now we're still streaming a lot of stuff via analog because we have a lot of infrastructure that was laid out, because it was done. The radio station's been around since 1947.
Oh wow! So you got an existing infrastructure there.
There's a lot of old analog infrastructure, but more and more we're thinking of going towards IP-based solutions. And if anything, Tieline is our gateway to IP audio, IP connectivity, and so we always love visiting you guys here at NAB, and it's just this is the first company we like to come and see whenever the show starts.
Well, we always love seeing you out here, Jack. I mean, I know multiple members of my team always recognize you whenever you come out. You always share some great stories with us. We're happy that you are able to sit here with us too. Do you have any other stories you want to share real quick with our audience who are tuning in?
Well, I mean, I will say also, we just recently ran into a situation where there was no IP connectivity, no form of physical or even Wi-Fi connectivity at one of the softball stadiums that we were hoping to broadcast a game from, and it was my broadcaster used the data module that is now that comes with the ViA. We were able to insert a couple of SIM cards in our ViA just recently, and you wire up the little antenna that comes out like a fan like this. Yep. And he literally just sat there and broadcast a softball series from a stadium that had virtually no connectivity, because softball is not as highly regarded as some of the other sports.
Yeah.
So a lot of universities don't necessarily invest infrastructure into the lower tier sports, but now you have this kid broadcasting softball at this university, and the alumni from both schools, the families with their daughters, came up to him and said, "Wow, it's so cool. We got some radio coverage of this softball game. Thank you so much." So you are very much providing a product line that enables much more coverage of just about anything from anywhere, and that is just a real treat. This whole transition from analog-based telecommunications to digital has been happening for a good 10-15 years now. And to see your products from their very first little iMix box that was a gray metal box,
the G3, the iMix
to
G3.
this sleek device you have now with Wi-Fi, data, connectivity. I mean, it's really a treat to have been part of that for the last 10-15 years, and that migration.
Well, and that's the beauty of the Tieline ecosystem, in my opinion. People might call me biased because I work here, and I've worked here for so long. A lot of you watching might recognize me, but the point of the VIA is to be truly flexible out in the field.
Yes.
We want to make sure that if you're in those situations, there is a solution to get you on the air. Whether you're in the middle of nowhere, like in Western Australia, in the middle of the desert, or if you're right in the smack dab middle of New York City where you can get a Wi-Fi connection.
Absolutely.
We want you to be able to get connected.
And we're also expanding beyond sports too.
Excellent.
Because a lot of stuff happens on the Stanford campus. I would love to be able to bring the VIA to the middle of the students. If there were just a few weeks ago, there happened to be a protest on the Stanford campus, and I had one of my DJs bring out the VIA and do a live broadcast from that protest, from that rally.
Excellent.
And so it goes beyond just sports coverage for a little radio station like us. We were able to bring a stereo image from that broadcast, from that protest, where there was no connectivity at all, in the middle of a square in Stanford University. I didn't have to run 500 feet of Ethernet cable.
Yeah.
I just brought the VIA out there and
a microphone, and away
there you go.
Yeah.
So
excellent.
Big fans.
Well, Jack, thank you so much for your time today. If anybody ever wants to reach out to you, can they find you on social media or anything like that?
It's real easy. We're at kzsu.stanford.edu. Feel free to send me an email, jack@kzsu.stanford.edu. And I don't do too much social media these days because it's just it's a lot of stress and anxiety.
Oh,
but
same.
For
I get
us,
it.
For us, kzsu.stanford.edu is our little radio station down
Excellent.
there. Down
So
there at the farm.
check out their web streams for sure. I've listened to one right before we sat down here. Jack gave me a little sneak peek. It sounds fantastic.
As a baseball fan,
yes.
I'm sure it's really.
I'll probably be tuning in after this as well.
College baseball.
Yeah.
It's really exciting.
Yeah. Well, no, thank you so much, Jack, for your time and your support throughout the years. We really do appreciate you.
And thank you for taking care of us like we're part of your family. It really is a treat.
Everybody we like to work with, everybody's a part of the Tieline family. So thank you so much for stopping by our booth, Jack. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And I'm Jacob Danilick with Tieline the Coda Company. Thanks and have a great day.